Welcome to Marketing from X to Z.
The podcast specifically created for small business owners who want practical marketing advice without the hype.
We're your hosts. This is Mike Albuquerque representing Gen X.
And this is Liz Bachman, our resident Gen Zer.
We're here to share honest insights, real-world experiences,
and tangible strategies to help your small business thrive.
Hey, Mike, do you want to start a podcast?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Well, I am super excited because this is the first episode of the podcast we're putting together to help small businesses with marketing. But I think probably the best place for us to start is to introduce ourselves and talk about why we're doing this in the first place. So, Mike, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
Well, hey, everyone. My name is Mike Albuquerque, and I own a web design and branding agency called Bear Double. Now, I'm excited to do this because I've been working with Liz on different projects for a long time. And we've always, we've done like webinars together and we've helped clients together. And this just kind of felt like the next natural evolution, right? How can we share more knowledge and expertise about marketing out there? Well, let's start a podcast. There's not enough of those out there.
Yeah, clearly this is not a saturated space at all. However, yeah, I've been really excited to do this because I've been wanting to start a podcast for about a year now, and I realized I wanted a buddy. So with all of the different webinars and work that we have been doing together, I was like, well, this just kind of makes sense. Plus, we think about things in a similar sort of way,
Yes.
but from a different angle, which I think is really helpful. All right. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your business and your background?
Okay, cool. So where do I start? Back in the 1980s when I was born? No, we're not going to go with
You're
that.
dating yourself.
Yeah. We'll cut this part out. No, I own it. I worked in corporate America all of my career, right? I worked in ad agencies. I work in corporate. And around like 8 years ago is when I decided to make the jump. I was having my second daughter was being born and I wanted some time off with her at home. So I said, okay, let's try to make this thing work. Let's try to do my own thing. So I left the corporate job and decided to start my agency. And I started out with a white label model. I don't know if you know this, but I was fully white label when I started,
I
meaning
did not know.
for those who don't work what that is, white label means that you're doing work for other agencies or corporations. So I was working for other agencies, doing work, their corporate work. And I did that for actually a year before I quit my job. And then like a couple years in, that was the bulk of my revenue was working for this agency. And yeah. And then like a couple years in, I decided to change the model and, I working with corporate directly, which then I didn't love because I realized why I had left. That also had something to do with it. And then I decided to focus on small businesses. And that's been the bulk of what I've been doing for the past maybe 5 or 6 years.
Okay, really cool. And what's the name of your company?
Bear Double, or Bear Double Design Studio, technically.
Okay, very cool.
Liz, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you start this?
All right, so mine is less amicable. I started my business because I didn't want to work for households anymore. It's evolved since. I've really enjoyed building something and helping small business owners. I've worked with like everything from your like small nonprofit and independent author all the way up to corporate hospital systems. So I've done a lot of different things as a small business and working for small businesses. I actually never worked in a corporate job. I think I just kind of intrinsically knew from the beginning that wasn't going to be a good fit.
Yeah. Smart choice. Smart choice.
But yeah, so at first, like, honestly, my business was like a vengeance thing. And now it's much more of a lifestyle choice and an ability to help people. And I work specifically with social media. My company is Wildflower Social Media. And I work specifically with social media because honestly, people think it's a magic pill and a lot of people get scammed with it. And it's just not that. And I like being that space, being able to provide helpful and instructional things without allowing the toxic bit of what I do into the space. It's the way that I talk about it's a little bit different because of that. And so I don't know, it's just really, really interesting. I like content marketing and storytelling, that sort of piece. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I know like we've flexibility is important for both of us, right? And
coffee cup down.
Okay, that's the first time this will happen. We need to start a counter. But I know flexibility is something that I think is important both for us and for our clients, right? And having that understanding of, let's working with small businesses, it's different than in corporate, right? You don't have like the structured uh, plans, if you will. Like for small business, oftentimes, they don't know anything about the space, right? And I think that's the expertise that we get to bring in with our strategy components, right? Which is something that I think brings us both together. We both like to focus on starting with strategy.
Yeah, that's probably the like one of the big things that I see that business owners they end up getting kind of screwed in marketing is that they start with like, well, just need to do something now. We just need to start. We just need to post. We just need to be live. We just need to and yes, and
Mm-hmm.
if you do that without looking at what things are going to be down the line, then you're just going to have to remake it. And that's additional incurred costs and things like that. So it's this weird balance with marketing of like, you don't want to wait until everything's perfect and everything's figured out because you'll never do it. But also, if you don't do a little bit of that groundwork in the front end, you end up having to rebuild things over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just helps bring clarity, right? When you know the why you're getting started. Like sometimes people say, hey, they'll come to me and say, hey, I need to build a website. My first question is, okay, great. Why?
Well, right? Because somebody said that I needed to be online. What do you mean why?
It always takes people back, right? Because here's the person who does that for you saying, wait, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Right? But it just brings it back to like, what is the point of it? What do you expect out of it? How's it going to benefit your business?
So kind of looping in there, what is one thing that every small business owner should focus on at the beginning? Kind of jumping into our we do have prepared questions. So what is one thing that you think that small business owners should start with?
Okay, so I think on the idea side, when you're very, very at the inception state of the business, if you're doing like a product or service that is not proven or a commodity, you got to make sure that there's demand for it, right? So you got to do your market research. You have to have that idea clearly defined. You got to be able to speak to it and explain it, right? If it sounds like an idea that's too complicated to do so, then you got to break it down.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can't explain something in simple terms and why it's needed, you're making it convoluted to sound smart, and that's not good marketing.
No, absolutely not. And sometimes that's the point, right? It's just like, that's where the strategy comes in. It's like just taking a step back and realizing how are people who are going to be using this product or service going to be understanding, what you're offering them, right? How do you benefit their life and their business?
Well, you might know this. This was a little bit before we met. So we met like 3 years ago almost now.
Yeah,
something like that.
Right.
So you met me when I was like 6 to 8 months into my business.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I was a baby business. Yeah. And, but what you may not have known is in the 6 months before we met, I actually spent a ton of time on market research and trying to make sure that my product fit. Mm-hmm. Because I quit my job and then for 4 months went, oh God, oh no, what am I doing now? And then I started Wildflower like at the top of that next year. And I spent 6 months giving away free consulting advice so that I could get the questions that people were asking about social for my target audience. So my target audience was authors. And so I actually ran ads just to give things away for free, to be able to bring them in for like 15, 30-minute calls. And I would get all of their questions and I put them in a document and then I'd answer all their questions. And that helped me build out my messaging and my offers at the very beginning when I didn't know what to do.
That's smart. Yeah. And I love the fact that like this, in our industries, you hear there's often a lot of time people try to, get creatives and agencies to do work for free, right? But you have taken the initiative of saying, I'm going to do this because it's going to line up with where I want to be and who I want to talk to. And so I can better understand them, right? So I love that.
Right. Yeah. And I actually had a weird feeling about doing things for free. Like I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but I was also like, super used to being broke. So I wasn't like that concerned about it at the time. And I wanted the information. And so I did have a set number of them that I was willing to do. So I wasn't like going to get into this pattern of repeat stuff. And then I think it helped me also like not underprice my stuff from the beginning. Cause a lot of people, when they start, they're like, I'll do your social media management for like $300. And I never did that because I took the time on the front end to understand how valuable it was and also what alternatives I could provide to support at that price point that wasn't going to absolutely burn me out.
Yeah.
Which I think actually for me, thinking about things that businesses should do at the beginning, market fit is absolutely true. But I also think considering the lifestyle that you want and actually getting very clear on what you want your life to look like and finding people who are doing that well and looking at what they're doing. Because what we see online, especially in the social media space, is not very representative of what running a business is actually like.
Yeah.
And those expectations will kneecap your business and shut you down in no time.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't get caught up with what you see online.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you got to understand with everything business or personal, it's always like you're seeing things through like, rose-colored lenses. It's always people are putting the best out there and the successes, not the failures or the struggle or the process.
Or they're sharing failures strategically, which is definitely something I do on my own personal page. But all right. So say you've been in business for what, 8 years now?
8 years, yeah.
Okay, so say that it's gone.
Oof.
What would you do?
What would I do? Oh boy, I don't know. I mean, is this it's gone when, hey, I won the lottery? Or is
no, this is you have to work now.
I'd start over again. Do I need to do something else? If not, I'm doing the same.
Okay.
If I'm doing something different, I mean, I don't think I can go to corporate. I could maybe work at a different agency, at someone's agency, especially if I had a vision or like a really cool brand, something like Loop of Death or. Like
that's a cool brand.
Yeah,
that's a cool brand. What if if you had to start your company over again? What would be the first thing that you did this time that you didn't do last time?
Oh, I can tell you that answer. When I started, I mentioned I had a white label model, but it was also full service. So I did everything. And a lot of things I should not have been doing.
Okay.
And so if I would start it over again, I would start by focusing in and saying, what are the, key things that I love doing, that I'm good at, and that are going to be the most profitable for my business. And I would just pick, maybe the top 3.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, I went through that process over the years, right? And landed from white label full service to where I am now, working with clients directly on websites, branding, and SEO.
Gotcha.
Right. So that was a process. And the reason for that is just because if you're doing a lot of things, well, then number one, you're probably not doing them all well.
Especially not at the beginning.
Definitely not at the beginning. And, also you're getting rid of some efficiencies that you would have if you're doing, tasks and repetitively. I mean, you can use certain tools. You can just dive deeper into it and become more of an expert on a specific topic. So that's what I would do over again.
Okay.
How about you? If you could turn the clock back 3 years.
Yeah. So 2 things. One of them is about marketing and the other one's just being a young woman in business. So the marketing one, I would not have allowed myself to become the cobbler's kid with no shoes. I am just now starting to rectify that. And that is so unprofessional. That is absolutely unacceptable. I cannot believe that I let it go this long. Because I built out all these systems and all these efficiencies and I am not practicing what I preach at all.
Yeah.
So getting that right from the beginning is something that I would actually invest that time into if I were to do this over again. The second, and the reason I bring it up is because I think it's really important, especially for women and young women in business, is I would have skipped the after hours networking.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I ran into a lot of problems with that, especially with my male counterparts.
I'm sure.
And I didn't have the confidence to navigate it. I do it now. Yeah. And I'm totally comfortable with it now. But when I was 23 years old and had just started my business and didn't really know how any of that worked, it was so much better for me to go to luncheons and to morning things. So I just think that's important to unfortunately kind of keep in mind. Not that you can't go, but just knowing that that's.
Yeah. And at those events, I mean, networking in general, you're meeting people or you're getting to know them and you don't exactly know what you're walking into.
Yeah.
Right. So it can be intimidating and it can be, I mean, you can end up running with the wrong crowd or,
Yeah, I went to like a lot of like young professional like young and half of it was just people looking for dates. Like which was just something I was not in the mood for.
Mhm.
Because I was trying to build a business and you'll notice that there's a big difference between people who make it and people who don't. A lot of the people who were giving me like issues back then, they no longer have companies because they weren't taking it seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but just as it's just something I feel like isn't talked about enough. So
No, that's very fair. Yeah.
Switching into our next question. What about commonly held piece of advice that you either really agree with or really don't?
We see a lot of advice online these days, right? So there's a lot of like this hustle bro culture where, it's just, I mean, it's exhausting, right? We talked about a little bit earlier, just the videos of like, take these 10 steps to 10x your business. I mean, well, once you start realizing that language, right? And it's very
It's gross.
toxic and gross and it's designed to make entrepreneurs feel bad about themselves.
Yeah.
Right. That's the point. If you're not growing, you're dying. Right. If you're not 10xing, you're, going under. You're not going to have a business by this time next year.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that language that I really don't like. I mean, my social media feeds include nothing about nothing about that because I'm like not interested, get away from this, and it gets served very often.
Well, that's because it's like super clickbaity. Like that's and it's like it's this like if you're yeah, mine is a very similar thing. So when I first started, I was working like 18 to 20 hours a day. Don't do that. It's bad. And I would tell some of my like colleagues, people at like networking events and stuff about it. And they would act like that was normal. And it's not.
No.
Like that's not okay. And what it was me just being incredibly inefficient and not being very strategic with the work I was doing. But we just glorify this how hard you work sort of thing instead of how smart you work.
Yeah.
Now, you still got to work hard.
Yes.
Like the other side of that is also not cool and a quick recipe to like have your business fall apart. But for me, like getting myself into that like 40 to 60 hours working a week, my work is so much better because I'm not so exhausted.
Yes.
So the whole like push through all the time, like the Hormozy style, style work. I like some of his stuff. I really do. But some of this like pedal to the metal, like all gas, no brakes, like
you have to filter it. And listen, if you're working on your own business, likely you start a business because you're passionate about something, you're good at it, you see an opportunity. You're gonna want to put in more than the 40 hours. And that is one way to grow, right? Is investing your time and making, you don't have money to hire a team or to hire certain professionals. You can invest your time in it, but it can't be that way always. It's not healthy.
Can't be the business model.
Yeah,
can't be
it cannot be the business model. There's a time for that, and there's phases in the business.
Oh yeah, I spent the last 6 months on a like I don't know if you've noticed this for me, but like my output's not been as high. And so I spent the last 6 months actually kind of in like a rest and heal, like learn how to delegate, learn how to give out the work, learn how to have it not be exactly the way that I would do it so that I can actually go to sleep at a reasonable time or do hobbies or volunteer and those sorts of deals, which is like, it's great to work hard, like to work hard in general. That's awesome. But to push yourself that far over the long term is just not sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you a better rounded individual. There was this, when I worked in advertising for years, there was this saying that kept getting repeated in agencies, which was advertising can be inspired by everything except for advertising.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're out there and you're living life and you're meeting people and you're going places, you're getting inspiration for things that are going to help you develop a better brand, a better concept, better marketing, and a better business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you exist only in a vacuum, that's a really great way to end up only speaking your language and never your customers.
Yes.
Let's see. What about What about an early mistake that taught you something? Not just something you messed up and didn't learn from, but like
An early mistake. So putting all my eggs in one basket was a big mistake. When I quit my corporate job because I had one solid client that
Ooh.
could, you know, that could help me stay afloat, right? And I knew then it was a matter of finding more clients. Now, I had for such a long time all my eggs in that one basket, and I remember there was one year where my contact went on vacation for a month. It was a long vacation because it was an entrepreneur and he had his business in a good spot, and he went on vacation for a month, and all of a sudden, my work just dried up, and that was scary and made me realize that even if I'm comfortable with the work, even if I'm comfortable with everything that's coming out of it, I have to put myself out there. I have to start, uh, you know, showcasing more than just me, but also my brand and get in front of people. And I just, so scary. And after a couple weeks, I'm like, okay, let's figure out what do I need to do, right? Let's look at networking. Let's look at, just building out the website, doing a couple other things to put myself out there. So yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Even if you have that one juicy client or juicy account, there you got to look for more.
Pipeline, fill the pipeline.
Yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For me, it was I waited way too long to hire help. Like of any sort. Like I waited way too long, and it made my business like super vulnerable to like if I got sick or if I got hurt or something like that. Like, I mean, the business stopped. And honestly, that's just like a super high risk job. That's like it's a really unstable form of employment instead of like a company. And you start off that way. Typically, most people do. And that's totally fine. But I got to the point where I was making enough money that I could have hired for help, but I wanted the money. I didn't want to let it go. I'd never had income like that. And I was like, I want this. This is mine. And that ended up hurting me. And so the income had to go back down so that I could build the processes in order to actually use a team. And so, yeah, that was kind of my mistake is I got greedy.
Well, I think that's a common one for a lot of people, myself included. I think we also intrinsically have this, this idea that like clients are hiring us, right? They're hiring Liz, they're hiring Mike, and so it's like, well, but if I get someone else, they're not hiring that person; they're hiring me, right? And to which I'd say, well, they're hiring the benefit that you bring, and if you're bringing in a team member and training them so they can perform like you would, and do things like you would, then it's not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like the only offers where you're hiring me are going to be like the consulting stuff where you've actually hired for my opinion, and my time, and my specific. I have not like brought in team members for that, but for management and content creation and stuff like that, like I trained them, but I couldn't possibly do all of those things all by myself anymore. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
See.
Do you want to go to the client success story?
I do. Do you have one?
I do have one.
Oh, okay. Do share.
Okay, so this was actually a client of mine that from my full service agency days.
Okay.
And it's a client who we had worked a couple small projects together and built that trust. And they said, okay, all right, we're ready to make the jump. We're ready to commit to a bigger engagement.
Okay.
Right. And so we started working together on a retainer basis. And that first year, they increased their revenue 35% year over year.
Oh, no wonder you wanted to share. My goodness.
Now, listen, I am the first, I've told them this, and I've told everyone who hears the story. I do not grant myself or my agency success for all of that. I think there's a lot of external factors that came in, but I wouldn't call it luck. Luck, it's when, opportunity finds preparedness.
Yes.
And that was very much the case here. Because we had started to work together, they were ready for when external circumstances happened that just boosted our business. And, it's the one thing that really helped them. The money left on the table They were collecting all these emails, and they were not marketing to them efficiently or much at all, really.
Yeah.
And so that was that's when we said, okay, let's devise like an email strategy for you, create different workflows and automations, and which is not something I do anymore.
Well,
in
but
general,
the good news is
but
I do.
Yes. And I'll share this. I'm a big believer in email marketing, right?
Yeah.
People don't talk about it because it's not like the sexiest marketing strategy out there, but it's so efficient, right? And that's what there was so much money left on the table. And I love the fact that you connected with your website. You can see exactly how much you're making on a per email basis.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm just starting to dive into for my clients as I'm expanding into more like content marketing type stuff. And what prompted that? Well, there's actually a couple things that prompted that. The first was the use of meta advertising and sending people directly to a page to convert. I felt like we were leaving money on the table because we were.
Yeah.
And so I started using instant forms. And actually I've done that for a company that we work with together. And seen some pretty solid results there.
Absolutely.
So it ended up being like 40% of the new applications or something like that.
That was huge.
Yeah. So that
I knew it was high, but until I ran the numbers and it's numbers that I can see on an end where you can't, right? And I share those with you because I was like, Liz, you're not going to believe this.
Which was awesome. I love it when clients do that. Clients, you should totally do that. But no, so doing that and then having an email sequence behind that kind of can catch the people who didn't go for it. And then I've got a client that they had like 300, 400 people on their email list, all people who and they had never like done like a lead magnet or anything. So these are all former prospects and they were not engaging with them at all. They followed through with they did the sales thing and it didn't, and they either got ghosted or whatever. And they never sent them anything nurture again.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, we just have to fix this. Like that's that just feels like, especially with like the average value of what they offer. I was like, y'all, we have to. So that's brand new. I'm sure I will come back at some point and tell you how it went. But I'm you actually saw me send it. But I think that that's going to be a really big thing too, because it's a way to re-engage people who were previously interested, who maybe it was the wrong time or like something came up. I mean, I've definitely more than once not bought something in the moment that I wanted to buy because it just wasn't the right exact second for that, and then bought later. So.
Yes. Listen, I'm going to say this looking at the camera, all three of them. If someone is giving you their email, that means they want you to contact it. Don't mess up. Contact them. Create a strategy to do so because they're waiting. They're waiting for that.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
So don't miss out. It's there's not a lot of ways that are as clear where clients are saying, we're interested in this. Yeah. Tell me more. Right? I mean, you wouldn't, if someone came to you in a networking event and says, Liz, tell me more about your offerings, you wouldn't just ignore them and walk away. That's what you're doing when you don't reply, don't create a strategy to start emailing people.
I am going to add a quick little caveat to that, though. Someone handing you their business card at a networking event is not subscribing to your email list. That is not what that is. So do be mindful of that, because realtors and mortgage brokers, I am speaking directly to you because that's who does it the most. But that's also not. But if they're submitting a form or if they're saying, please reach out to me, like, yeah, don't leave money on the table. That's almost as warm as it gets.
Yes.
So. Absolutely. Oh, see.
All right. How about I ask a question?
I guess you can ask a question.
Sweet. All right, Liz, why is it important to build a brand and a strong social presence from the start when you're starting your business?
Oh, you mean the thing that I didn't do?
I think we've covered this. We both didn't do this.
Yeah. So, but the reason is, we've talked about this off of here, but like the reason is because it's an investment. And when you don't build, like, it's one of those things that when you do it, it's a lot of work on the front end. kind of like a strategy. It's a lot of work and it's got a pretty low return when you first get started. So like when you're feeling busy and you're trying to scramble and stuff, like it's like one of those things that you skip. It's almost like we know that from experience or something. But when you start from the beginning, you're able to build that and compound that in a way. It's kind of like if you invested a penny and it doubled and then it doubled and then it doubled, right? And the sooner you invest that penny, the sooner you get your million,
Yes.
right? But if you wait, then you have to keep waiting.
Absolutely. There's, and the average is that people need to be exposed to your brand at least 7 times. I use 7 to 12 because there's different research out there.
Yeah.
But so let's say 7 to 12 times before they're comfortable engaging, right? So that means that they have to either see your logo, see a post of yours or get an email until they're comfortable engaging. Engaging does not mean buying.
No.
Right? Engaging is that first step. It might be clicking to go to your website, might be following you, might be signing up for your email list. Right. So the sooner you can start that out, the more trustworthy you're also going to feel because, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, hang on a second. I've heard this name before. I've heard this company's name before.
Yeah. And I also think it's building out a brand also creates, and maybe this is just a little selfishly here, but it creates something that works for you when you're not actively doing something as well. So like, whether you're sponsoring something or whether you've left a business card or something like that, if you don't have branding associated with it, then that doesn't work. I mean, like I feel kind of bad for some people who are working for companies that have cards and they're the company cards and they're all the same. And that's great for the branding of that company. But if they're commission based, that actually kind of sucks because they don't stand out. They look like everybody else who works for that. And so you don't really remember who they are.
Yes.
But that's how powerful branding is for that company, which is why they do that.
Yeah.
But having that branding reinforce the visual branding, but also because branding's not just your logo, it's not just your colors, right? It's a way that you make people feel. It's an expectation of like interaction and that sort of thing that you create. So when you back that up, that way when people see the card, see the logo, they know or have like an inkling in the back of their head of what that's going to mean. And that is so powerful.
It is. And it starts the ball rolling, right? And the sooner you can get that started and the sooner you go through the exercises of figuring out like your values, your mission, like what you stand for, how do you want people to feel after you engage with them? Then you can work on the logo and the colors and everything else because there is a very visual component to branding as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a simple trigger, right? Of saying like, okay, boom. I get that. I remember it now.
And when you're trying to know, like when you're trying to create that visual brand, it will fall flat if you don't have that other part first, because like colors and typography and like even like line density and stuff, they do different things inside of our brain.
Yes.
And so if you're like a wellness company that likes like aloe and essential oils and all this, I obviously do a lot with wellness, but then your logo is bright orange with bulky text. That's going to create a cognitive dissonance that's going to hurt you more than it will help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I've seen people do it because I like orange or, and I'm just picking on orange, but.
Which then in turn makes the brand about you, not about your customers, which is what it should be.
Exactly. So it's very, actually, I'd love to, how did you get to teal for Bear Double?
Oh, so I'm a big fan of just standing out and disruption, right?
Okay.
Which immediately rule out red, which I'm wearing today.
You are definitely wearing red today.
But my primary brand color is teal.
Okay.
Right. And so I wanted something that stood out. I did know that I did want something that didn't feel that felt like it was outside of the norm, but also that felt a little bit approachable and friendly. I like also just visually. I'm a brand designer by trade, right? I went to college for graphic design.
Yeah.
Worked in advertising for years. So creating logos and brand guidelines is really important to me. And one of the things that I love doing is creating logos that don't just have one full color version of them. So you've seen me wearing different shirts and different colors and all that. I love it when you can have like 3 colors that work together in different ways. So you see that in a lot of different logos that I design, like the CCBB logo, the Bear Double logo. I have some other clients that have done the same.
Okay.
And so there's a balance of making sure that you're using tones that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, I just, I love the green, which is, what I've used previously,
Mm-hmm.
but I went to the teal, just felt a little bit softer. And with the brand that, I've established with Bear Double being a little bit goofy and,
Yeah.
I wanted something that felt outside the norm.
I love that.
I didn't just want like what you see commonly in corporate or agencies is, people make like a circle and stick a name in and it'll be red or it'll be blue. It'll be blue if it's corporate. It'll be red if it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much.
I wanted something that had personality for sure.
That's good. That's awesome.
And that was instantly recognizable, right? I mean, I got like the bear here on my shirt, which is my part of my logo. And you get to, the idea is that as people are going through, they just kind of, it's just that brand hit. Doesn't need to be very literal, right? You notice I don't have the name of my company on a lot of the apparel that I wear.
Yeah.
But I just want that hit to where people are like, hang on, you got like that bear sight.
This is what we mean by like start with a plan, but also just start.
Yeah. You got to roll with the punches. You're going to learn things. We're learning that maybe the camera choice wasn't the best.
Alrighty. So one of our final questions was how do you help a client who is overwhelmed and doesn't know where to start? We actually just had somebody that we helped with this together.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to jump into that?
I mean, I think this kind of goes back to a little bit of what you said earlier with like the 10 things you have to do to like that sort of like toxic language is you have people who come in and they think that they need to do all of the things right now or else everything's going to burn to the ground and nothing is going to work. And that's where that sense of like overwhelm and fear, in my opinion, comes from is like, I have to do all the things. You don't have to do all the things. I mean, eventually you may grow into doing all of the things and that's fabulous for you. But what's more important is you start strategically doing the things that are going to have the maximum impact, which means doing a little bit of our favorite stuff, but to a lot of business owners, the boring part on the front end to figure out what your strategy is. Like, what's your brand positioning? Who are you? What do you offer? Who are your clients? What do they need? What do they need? What do they need? Not what you want to say. And then what do you want to be known for? Because if you don't put that client before what you want, then it's going to fall flat because it's all going to be about you.
Yes.
So, I mean, thinking about those components of things and then being able to make strategic selections from there. So like this person was a B2B organization and they were talking to us about like how they thought that maybe they needed to be they started a TikTok and they started an Instagram, they started a Facebook and they started a LinkedIn, but they had only posted on LinkedIn once in the last 10 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when they were talking about like, what all do I need to do? I actually stopped them. I was like, we need to start here and build this habit. And then we can go and explore other opportunities. But if we don't start with the framework and what the messaging, what you're supposed to be saying, and then in a way that can actually be repeated and done without making you want to lose your mind, it's never going to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to, for the strategy clients, I have this framework where we go through initiatives that will help the business in terms of awareness and in terms of revenue. So what can you do in terms of marketing that will help drive revenue for your business? And we'll list it out and, list out all the initiatives and then break it down into, how doable are they? How much, on the priority list.
I've seen this sheet. I know what you're talking about.
It's a really interesting exercise because everyone starts with an idea of saying like, oh, I just need to do this one thing. And once you go through it, it's like, well, okay, this one thing is actually not the right thing for right now.
Yeah.
And that just helps you understand that, okay, there's a lot that we can do with this, but let's start over here. Let's start with step one, right? Step one is going to bring, like you said, the most revenue or awareness, depending on what you're going for.
Yeah.
Right. It might be different. It might be that you have like some strategies that you're doing in marketing that are awareness driven and others that, are driven by profitability, depending on what your goals are. But if you take the time to list them through and to really think in terms of the impact that they'll have in your business, that'll give you a roadmap, of what to do next. You don't need to do it all at once. You shouldn't be doing it all at once.
Yeah, and that also gives you an exercise in figuring out what step 1 actually is, because a lot of times clients come to me and they're asking me for step 7 and they haven't done 1 through 6. If that, I just picked a random number. That's not like there's no magic there, but like I think that that's a really good part of what you just said too, is that because a lot of overwhelm starts from like, we don't know how to finish the thing. We don't know how to do the thing. And that often becomes because we skipped a step. we skip something like figuring out how to format a micro SD card or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, we just needed to turn the thing on and off again, literally.
We'll never get back that 45 minutes of our lives. But that's okay.
Okay, so we're coming towards the end here. Liz, if there's one thing that you want people to remember from today, what would that be?
We started a podcast and we'd like you to come back. No, but actually,
like and subscribe wherever this thing is.
We'll figure it out. Again, we're starting messy and that's totally okay. I think the big thing from this is taking the time to do the work on the front end, but not so much work that you don't start, which I know sounds like kind of complicated, but I do think that this podcast is a good example of that. But also some of the stories we've shared is like, you do need to do the thing and we want you to do the thing. But also before we start breaking down walls like the Jello Man or Kool-Aid Man, isn't it? It's Kool-Aid. It's Kool-Aid. It's fine.
I know what you were saying.
It's fine. You guys got it. Maybe checking for the doorknob first, like, you know, like taking the time to identify the door. It's going to be a little bit less work in the long run. Let's repair afterwards. Let's drywall.
The cover for this is going to be the Kool-Aid Man come through between us.
But yeah, that's what I want people to take away.
That's good. All right. I would say start collecting emails.
Okay. Yeah.
Start collecting emails and now again, make sure you're not just collecting business cards. That's not your email list, but start connecting with people and, you know, create a form on your website to where you can collect emails.
Yeah.
Even if you're not marketing to them right now, eventually you will. Right. So
yeah, better to have it than to need it.
Yes. That's the advice I always give to people. Just put it on your site. Even if you're not doing anything right now, just collect them.
Okay, we've got 2 more questions before we're done. So y'all hang in there for us. We are Chatty Cathy's. What advice would you give to someone who feels overwhelmed in their small business right now?
We talked about 1 step at a time.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's important. I want to reiterate that. But also what I would say is find a mentor.
Oh my gosh, yes.
If you can find someone who has been where you are and has gotten to, like, they don't need to be someone who's gotten all the way, right, of whatever your vision is for your business. But if you can get to find someone who's gotten to that next step, connect with them. People are very willing to share their experience and to share their knowledge. There's work out there for everyone, you know, and if you can connect with them, they might help you go past some of the hurdles that you're facing right now.
Yeah, I think one of our mutual friends, Brian Kramer, said, stop running your head into the same fist.
Yes.
Something like that. No, I completely agree with that. Also, like, don't take advice from people who aren't where you want to go. A lot of people have advice for entrepreneurs because they all thought about starting a business at one point or had a business for 3 months at one point or something like that. So mentorship, absolutely. Just be strategic with who you pick for that mentor. Cause but that's a whole other podcast and mostly complaining.
I think we both are going to have a lot of stories to share there.
And, all right, last one to wrap up. What are you most excited to discuss or explore on future podcast episodes? You know, a couple we've got planned. What are you most excited for?
So I love the idea of talking through like some of the common misconceptions that you get out there, that people put out there, especially like you mentioned, you know, some of the people who are willing to offer advice, who maybe have not gone through that journey, or, you know, the hustle bros on social media. You know, there's a lot of stuff that gets put out there that's not actually practical for a small business to do.
Especially with ChatGPT writing so much of it now.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd love to go over some common misconceptions. I said that funny. Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. It's very authentic. It's very you, and that's what's important. Yeah, no. So for me, I'm excited to learn from you about branding a little bit. Your expertise there is much stronger than mine.
You're too kind.
Well, mine's good with social. So like we bring different things to the plate here, which is why I thought this would be good. So I'm excited to learn from you on that. I'm excited to be talking about marketing things in a way that I want this to be very tangible. I want this to be like they can listen to it and do something and not necessarily feel the need to buy from us. I mean, of course you can totally buy from us, but I want it to be helpful enough that it kind of cuts through a lot of the crap that's online. So that's, I think, what I'm super, super excited for. And yeah, but I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. I enjoy talking about marketing, and I wanted you to do this with me so that I could learn from you and pick your brain. So that's kind of what I'm excited for.
Likewise, I think I think we've had that exchange of experience a lot, right? And what's neat too is that I think we've been in places where we've helped each other and where we've helped clients together, and we get to see just the value that we both bring to the table, right? And I like I shared earlier, I get to see like some of the metrics and things that we're doing together. Where I'm like, Liz, you're not going to believe this. This is crazy. This is you're blowing things up here. There's results. So it's like I think there's that idea that we now get to take some of that expertise and share it with people and just showcase what an impact that marketing can have on a small business.
Absolutely. All right. So on that note, I think that brings this episode to a close. Thank you so much for hanging with us and for listening. And honestly, we're still figuring out where this is going to go. But wherever it is, I hope that you like, subscribe, and comment any questions you have that you would like to drive for future episodes or you'd like us to answer in future episodes, because although we've got a lot of stuff we would like to share, as we reiterated before, it's super important to talk to people about what they need to know and what they want to know, not just what we want to talk about.
Exactly.
So that would totally help us do that.
We'd love to answer some of your questions.
All right. Bye now.